Hello, my name is Emily, as you may or may not know, and today we are going to be talking about everyone's obsession with getting old, right? God forbid. One of the only things that happens to literally everybody and is inevitable and is one of the only guarantees of life. Now, I have touched on this in some of my other videos because, well, it is quite pervasive. Being obsessed with youth is definitely nothing new. Through the history of beauty standards, literature, film, TV, and our own rhetoric, we are reminded that youth is something we are supposed to cling onto until our hands are so arthritic that we can't do it anymore and, well, we die. Now, there are things that often come with aging that, are valid to be afraid of, like chronic illness, your mind and memory deteriorating, being shoved away into a nursing home where you're neglected. Those are all valid things to not necessarily be looking forward to. But I do feel like there are some reasons that we push back against aging that can be a little bit more malleable if we just adjust our mindsets. I want to discuss fear of aging mainly in regards to two things, right? Number one, resistance against adulthood and the sense of running out of time, and number two, no longer being able to conform to a beauty standard. And honestly, these two things could really be two separate videos, but I'm feeling generous today, so it's a twofer. But before we even get into all of that, of course I need to mention today's lovely sponsor, ZocDoc. ZocDoc helped me find a new healthcare provider after I moved to a new city and kept pushing it off, okay? I did have to eventually take on the adult responsibility of making my own big girl appointments using my own big girl insurance. And with ZocDoc, the process was so easy and so stress-free. I found someone who was located nearby and took my insurance. I was able to get a physical, which I passed with flying colors, by the way, and then I also got my labs drawn, and my levels, well, they didn't pass with flying colors. The colors were still off the ground, but through the appointment I was able to see that some of my numbers were an itsy bitsy bit off. So then I started to make some lifestyle changes, and honestly, I've been feeling just a lot better in my day-to-day life. I didn't always have the motivation to go to the gym or make sure there were extra veggies in my meal, but now I do. And I know sometimes making a doctor's appointment, that's the last little pea that you want to be putting on an ever-growing plate, but luckily, with my sponsor ZocDoc, they make the process so much easier. ZocDoc is a free website where you can search and compare high-quality, in-network doctors, choose the right one for your needs, and then instantly book an appointment. We're talking about in-network appointments with over 100,000 healthcare providers across nearly every specialty, okay? From mental health to dental health, eye care to skin care, and much more. You can filter for doctors who take your insurance, who are located nearby, who are a good fit for any medical need that you may have, and are highly rated by verified patients. You can also actually see their appointment openings, which makes things so much more convenient and user-friendly. Literally, all you have to do is choose the time that works for you and then click to instantly book an appointment. Plus, ZocDoc appointments, they're happening fast, okay? Typically within 24 to 72 hours, and sometimes you can even score same-day appointments. You don't have to talk to anyone. All you have to do is just book with a few clicks. Stop waiting and stop guessing, okay? And get the care that you freaking need. All right? Go to ZocDoc.com/NotEvenEmily to find and instantly book a high-quality, top-rated doctor today. Thank you so much to ZocDoc for sponsoring, and now back to the video. All right, now first, a little history lesson. Okay, so a part of how we currently perceive youth depends on having a separation from adulthood, hence having something to mourn or cling onto or feel nostalgic about, right? However, the language to support these distinctions between these life stages was not always prevalent. There's actually quite a notable book from the 1960s called Centuries of Childhood, A Social History of Family Life by Philippe Ariès. Sorry, he's French, and I definitely pronounced it wrong. Philippe Ariès. That was offensive. I'm sorry.
Philippe Ariès.
Philippe Ariès. Okay. So I was majorly wrong. He wrote a book which analyzes the era of childhood and asserts that modern styles of parenting and the very idea of childhood is very different from how things used to be prior to the 17th century. Now, I don't mention this author because I necessarily think that he's right. There's a lot of people who don't agree with him, but I just mentioned him because he is influential in the way that we view and think about childhood and therefore how we view growing up and adulthood. So he claimed that because lifespans were so short, parents had to become more detached from their children because it was very likely that they were going to pass away at an early age. According to historyextra.com, based on surviving written records alone, scholars have estimated that 20 to 30% of children under 7 died, but the actual figure is almost certainly higher. And he claims that kids were actually seen as mini adults, and they were not, really coddled or treated as delicately as we do nowadays with modern parenting. Let's just say gentle parenting wasn't really a thing back then. Oh, my precious baby, you are so beautiful. I will do anything in this world to protect you. You have my whole heart. Salutations, Jeffrey. I won't let anything hurt you. The plague will hear of you before you hear of it. I can't wait to see your first steps, your first day at school. I hope to see you in the next 72 hours if fate allows it. When we get home, there's gonna be so many toys waiting for you. When we get home, you need to work the farmland. If you crawl around the soil enough, it will soften for harvest. And I just want to bring up some of the criticisms of Felipe Argiez's mindsets because I think it's funny. Also, I think that the history parts of these videos is interesting. I hope you guys like it too. But the history part will be over soon-ish, I think. Many critics have pointed out that his evidence for why children were treated as mini adults is because he noticed that in a lot of the portraits done of children that they were dressed basically like mini adults and they were wearing clothing that reflected adulthood. And many people have pointed out how this just can't really be a definitive conclusion because, first of all, kids who are getting their portraits done, they're really only of a certain class or race, right? And also the portrait is only capturing them in specific moments in time which they probably have gotten dressed up for. I mean, I'm just thinking about a historian basing all of their research solely off of photos of college-aged women during the month of October, seeing everyone in cat costumes, and then them thinking to themselves, wow, they must have truly thought themselves feline. They probably coughed up hair and knocked things off the counter indiscriminately. So while there are some critics who oppose Felipe's viewpoints and assert that children were actually quite beloved and shown a lot more affection than what he proposed, what is true is that compared to today in the grand scheme of things, children back then were seen more as an asset for the labor force other than something to just solely love and adore. And yes, lifespans used to be a lot shorter. Like a lot. Let me remind you or inform you that antibiotics were not widely distributed until the 1940s. That's not even 100 years ago. In the age of modern medicine, many parts of the world are starting to see lifespans that we've never seen before, right? You know, that one tweet where, when a celebrity dies or something, someone will tweet, people are dying now who have never died before. Yeah, the opposite is also true. People are living now who have never lived before. Way back when, if you had a tickle in your throat, you had 7 days, honey. Okay, because the world of healthcare and medicine in the far gone past was, well, brace yourself, dear. I'm gonna have to touch your open wound. Aren't you gonna wash your hands? What does that mean? Doc, my wife, she's just being a bit unreasonable. Nail! In the head, now! Oh dear, I'm feeling a bit feverish. What's going on? Sounds like a common case of the devil. Wait, hang on there. You haven't heard of bloodletting? No. Oh my goodness. Come on, it's one of the most common medical procedures. You got 4 humors of the body, right? Black bile, yellow bile, phlegm, and blood. It's all about balance. So say you have too much phlegm, that means we have to take some of your blood. And we do it all the time. What? Yup. Oh! They were operating on the knowledge they had. But I bring up that history and these concepts about lifespans and childhood and adulthood because I do think that how they have evolved pose 2 ideas that kind of juxtapose each other a little, right? Number 1, longer life means that we are experiencing something that people have never before experienced or gotten the privilege of experiencing in the past. So shouldn't this mean that we should be more grateful for aging instead of resistant? Number 2, However, longer life has provided more opportunity to distinguish and separate life stages by sociological observation, associating certain experiences with each stage of life, and this in turn can cause anticipation, fear, or nostalgia towards certain parts. I think I just said turds. Sorry. Or nostalgia towards certain parts of life, hence fear of aging. I'm not editing that out, by the way. I'm showing up today as my true self. And I feel like people can generally agree on the first point that I wrote about being more grateful for aging. However, this seems to be something that we need to consciously try to do, and we need to reframe our mindsets in order to do that. There are many things in our society that make it difficult to not only embrace aging, but just baseline accept aging. I think, speaking for myself as an American, there's this little thing that sort of bleeds into everybody's lives, or rather hemorrhages into everybody's lives: capitalism. One of the hallmarks of adulthood and key factors as to what makes objectively young people feel old is joining the workforce. Okay? You will never hear the phrase, "Oh, I feel so old," more than when you are around a 22-year-old who has just freshly graduated college. And there's no doubt that, leaving school, getting your first job, earning money for yourself for the first time, that definitely marks a very real transition. Going from student to full-time employee, yeah, it can feel like you're being pushed off into the deep end a little bit. But that doesn't mean that you're getting old. And I find it very interesting when people speak about it that way. I wonder if it's because, each decade is kind of a milestone, and when you turn 10 and you become like a double digit thing that we're not supposed to say anymore. I don't feel comfortable saying it, so I'm not. But that marks a specific milestone within childhood. And then once you pass another decade and you are in your 20s, that's the first decade milestone where you're a little bit more self-actualized, and maybe that's why it's like, oh, now I'm old. But I still don't understand it, because it's like, okay, just because you're going through a transition and you're moving forward doesn't mean that you're at the end of the line. Or maybe perhaps because a lot of young people have a negative attitude towards aging and a negative attitude towards, getting into the workforce, that it's easy to just pair those two things together because they're both viewed negatively. And don't get me wrong, I'm sure a lot of people might be excited to start working. Maybe it's like you got your dream job. And a lot of people who are in college or high school, whatever, they were students and working at the same time, right? So I'm sure a lot of them would be happy to finally only be doing one of those things and earning more money at the same time as well. However, for many people, it might be hard to look forward to the advancement of your life if the next few decades of it are going to be dedicated to a company that doesn't care if you live or die. According to Deputy, Americans spend around 15 years or 90,000 hours total of their life working. Right. And honestly, for many people, I'm sure it's more than that. And then even when you aren't working, you still might be stressed about work or dreading going back to work. And with the accessibility of social media, I see how a lot of people talk about their work-life balance and how they are just miserable, right? And obviously, not only can I see that, but kids and teenagers can see that too. I'm sure when they are looking at their phones, seeing a 30-year-old on the brink of tears while they, eat their meal prep, white rice and ground beef. I think a lot of them probably aren't thinking, God, I can't wait. And then also, people are able to post these nostalgia-driven posts where it's like, remember the last time you were happy? And then it's like a slideshow of, the week before Christmas break when you were in 5th grade. All of these posts about the simpler times, and then you go through and one slide is silly bands, and then you swipe and then it's Neopets, and then you swipe and it's remember those big Barbie heads that you could practice braiding on? It's like one of those. And then it conveys this feeling where you are longing for something. You are yearning for a time where you didn't know that the price for independence was adult responsibility. When you live in a society where the expectation put on adults aligns more with living to work as opposed to working to live, it can be, very easy to become resistant towards aging. But in this case, I don't feel like like aging is the entirety of what we feel resistant to when it comes to, becoming an adult, growing up, and joining the workforce. I feel like what we are resistant to is wasting our lives away. The feeling that we're just letting time pass by us because we're too busy clocking in, and it's hard to embrace something that feels like a trap. Okay, kids, settle down, settle down. So today it's an exciting day, okay? We have some grown-ups coming in today to talk about grown-up stuff.
Yeah!
I know. So today we have Mr. Hawkins, who's gonna tell us about his job at the...
Yes, sorry kids, a little late, almost didn't make it.
Traffic, definitely an adult thing.
No traffic, I mean I almost didn't make it as in I almost died.
Oh my God.
Yep, in a self-inflicted way too, as well.
Are you okay?
I don't know, Carla, who's to say, right? 6'7".
For the kids, right? Fuck. Okay. Basically, kids, every day, Monday through Friday, I drag my lard carcass to sit in front of a desk for 8 hours a day, staring at a screen and feeling my life force drain out of me through my ass while I talk to people I don't care about things I don't care about. Okay. Can we try and maybe be a little bit more positive?
Yeah, sure.
I am positive that the more time I spend at fucking work, I'm becoming more and more aware that Earth has to be a part of some sort of intergalactical study as to how to optimize suffering.
Jesus Christ, okay.
Having a job
I
sounds
don't
scary.
wanna work.
He's making me
See,
sad.
but you're upsetting the kids, okay? Working is a part of growing up, and now you're making them not want to grow up.
Well, do you want to work?
Well, no. Another facet of being resistant towards aging, I believe, stems from the notion that at a certain age, you're just supposed to have everything figured out. For example, people always say that the college years are for binge drinking, dating the wrong person, making mistakes, eating like shit. And in your 20s, I think people still grant you grace because, you're starting the workforce transition, you're trying to figure out how to navigate your own relationships, your own boundaries, and develop more of a sense of who you are. But as you get older, that grace starts to deplete, right? And it's almost like there's certain stages in life where you're supposed to figure out who you are as opposed to your entire life being a constant evolution of who you are. And hey, sometimes that grace might deplete for a good reason, okay? Because yes, it is true. Once you get to a certain age, there's certain things that just aren't that cute anymore. You can make mistakes and be going through certain experiences at any age, but people see you differently depending on what age you are. For example, I'm going to take the exact same sentence and just change the age, and it's likely you would get a different reaction for each scenario.
Yeah, she literally blacked out this weekend, was 2 hours late to work this morning because she was so hungover and her situationship hasn't texted her back.
How old is she?
21.
Ah.
Yeah, she literally blacked out this weekend, was 2 hours late to work this morning because she was so hungover and her situationship hasn't texted her back.
How old is she?
31. Oh.
So yeah, as you get older, there's sort of this pressure to act your age, right? But a lot of people who would seem old to maybe like a kid or a teenager, we don't actually feel that grown up. The world is a confusing place, okay? Just because we've been here longer doesn't mean we know what the fuck's going on. The usual markers for showcasing yourself as an accomplished adult nowadays has changed, right? Because everything is really fucking expensive. It used to be you're supposed to get good grades, go to a good college, get a good job, find a decent husband. It would be nice if he didn't hit you, and then you have a kid, right? But nowadays it's like, okay, so I got the good grades, you go to a good college, that doesn't guarantee that you'll get a good job anymore. And then even if you get the good job, that doesn't mean that you're going to be able to afford a house. Today, with the economy, the dating pool, the job market, the housing market, doing these adult things has never been more difficult. And to be honest, it seems to me that a lot of young people don't even want those markers of adulthood anymore, right? Especially in cities, maybe amongst, creative spaces. I don't know. I'm just speaking from my own personal experience and the people around me, right? I have a lot of friends who are my age, and marriage and kids is not even in the stratosphere, and they're glad. Before, if a woman my age was not married or at least engaged, she would have to be put on suicide watch. But because of all of this, I feel like us as young adults, we don't really know what our new markers are. So a lot of us just feel lost and left behind, and we don't have a direction that we're going towards. And, a lot of us are not even really thinking about what direction we're going because people are just trying to afford rent and groceries. And when we age, with every year that passes without perceived progress, you feel worse and worse about yourself. And it doesn't help that with the addition of social media, we're seeing all of these people who are our age or younger accomplish really great things, which is great for them, but what about me? But that's that screenshot of the Instagram story where it's like, I'm really glad that happened for you, but I wish it happened to me instead. But in actuality, when you're comparing yourself to like teenagers, it's like, okay, so who even determines what young is? Why does someone as a 25-year-old feel bad that a 19-year-old has a successful music career, right? And it makes the 25-year-old feel as if they've run out of time. Who decided that having accomplishments while you're young mean more than accomplishments that are achieved later in life? First of all, it's a complete honor. Thank you so much for meeting with me. I just wanted to ask you a few questions about your new miracle drug that is about to change the lives of millions of people. Of course. This disease has impacted so many families. It's impacted my own, which is why I dedicated the last 30 years of my life to this research. Ew, you're 30? I'm 48. Oh. Is that a problem or? No, it's just that I thought you were younger, so I was kind of more impressed by this whole thing, but now that I know you're like old, it's kind of a bit more flopular. Flopular? Flopular. You're gonna be flopular. Okay, I found the cure for Alzheimer's. Yeah, and Jennifer Lawrence filmed The Hunger Games at 21. So it's just like, you win some, you lose some. I didn't lose any. What? Have you ever won a Grammy at 18? Billie Eilish did. No. I'm a doctor. Right, an old one. I guess. Which isn't as impressive as a teenage one. You don't want a teenage doctor! I think that self-loathing in regards to not having had achieved certain things by a certain age can be very self-paralyzing, right? And, enforce this mindset of, well, it's too late for me, so I shouldn't even try. Or the mindset of, I'm approaching the age where the doors are going to be closing, so I need to achieve as many goals as I can, or I'm going to be filled with so much self-hatred that it could literally fill up the tanks at SeaWorld. I think when people say, oh, when I was younger, I had dreams of doing that, or dreams of doing this, it's like, who's to say that you still can't, number one, obtain those things, or number two, reignite the passion for those things? Because I understand, yes, if a 65-year-old wants to be a professional ballet dancer, yes, that might be a little bit difficult, but that doesn't mean that you still can't dance. But if you're, say, 32 years old and you're telling yourself that you're too old to make a change in your life or get something done, right? Do you truly believe that you can't do it? Or are you just scared? And who knows, right? No matter what age you are, if you invest in your passion and things that fulfill you, it might work out. That's literally what happened to me, right? I started my YouTube channel and I started doing things online because I wanted to be in the entertainment industry. But even when I was studying nursing and when I was working as a nurse, right, I still had to make time for those things because it's just a part of who I am, right? And now I'm doing it full time. It doesn't mean that it can't happen for you. I'm literally living, breathing proof. But yes, I think we are only doing ourselves a favor when we recognize that it's true that ambition and passion can have obstacles due to circumstance, but it doesn't have to have an expiration date. Hey, do you think this is still good? How old are you again? 27. Oh, Jesus, fuck no, you gotta throw that away. And for me, as someone who is in an industry where numbers really do matter, they kind of are everything, I'm seeing people with my very own two eyes, surpass me numerically, even though I've been doing this for so long, or, get opportunities that I would love to have. And so, that feeling of being sort of behind, and it being correlated with aging, it's nowhere near beyond me. Obviously for me, aging means passing of time, not just for me. I think that's for everyone, right? Aging means passing of time. Passage of time means closer to irrelevancy, right? Because when it comes to the internet, there will be a day where no one really gives a fuck about this channel anymore. And I live in fear of that every single day. Or, as someone who wants a niche but still successful career in acting, I see, these younger actors who are so beautiful and charismatic, and they're getting roles that I would love to have, right? And I have to literally consciously take a step back and rip myself away from any negative self-talk or negative mindsets I might have towards me and like my age, I suppose. And that's when I go online and I Google things like, does one video flopping on my YouTube channel mean that I'm gonna die? Of course the answer is no. Or I Google things like, this one is a popular one in my browser history. Actors who got their start late in life. Right? That usually makes me feel better. I mean, we all know that Hollywood favors younger stars, especially when it comes to women. So, yep. That was me trying to segue into the Hollywood and beauty standards section of this video and like getting work done and stuff. So rate this segue on a scale of 1 to 10 in the comments section below. There are probably many fields of work where, the younger employees are more valued than the older ones because of the perceived usefulness they can bring to a industry or company, mostly because of their physical ability of their body and mind to do so. And Hollywood is no different, but for Tinseltown, there is not only the added layer of ability in relation to aging, but beauty. With professions that are face forward, so to speak, being a certain degree of beautiful is kind of treated as just a part of the job unless otherwise stated, right? I'm sure if you are auditioning for the role of hideous man number 4, there's a little bit of leeway there. But as viewers, we see with our own very eyes that the most successful Hollywood stars reach a certain caliber of attractiveness and perceived youth. After all, roles and stories are most plentiful for people in this age bracket. And if you age out, that means less leading roles for you, which has led to the phenomenon we see all throughout Hollywood, which is people getting a lot of work done. Body contouring, liposuction, upper blephs, fillers, facelifts, Botox, 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 Botox. And whenever an actor gets work done, it's usually linked to maintaining a youthful look. I've never heard of an actor getting plastic surgery to look older. All right, thanks so much for coming in for a consultation. What are you looking to get done? Yeah, so honestly, I think I really just need a redo of the whole thing. What, like your face? Yeah, I'm just over it. Right, okay. I will need you to be a little bit more specific about the procedure that you want. Here, I have a reference picture if that helps. Okay. Halloween old witch mask, terrifying old woman props, scary, long hair, old woman mask, Halloween party prank props, dress up props for scary scenes. Yes, it's such a fucking vibe. Okay, yeah, I guess we will need to put you on a collagen deficit and really increase your stress levels. I'm sorry, I've never done this before. Right, totally. Increase my stress levels. Okay, I guess I could take a pay cut at work and go through a really lengthy and nasty divorce with my husband. I mean, would that help? I mean, I guess in theory. God, that sucks because I really love him. But anything for the look, right? And it's kind of a double-edged sword because once you get the work done, the public is the first to point it out and criticize, right? They're discussing online about whether or not it looks natural or good. They bring up before and after photos to make direct comparisons, or they talk about how you're such a bad person because you should be a role model and this is sending a message towards young and impressionable girls. And yes, I do personally believe that, whether or not you get cosmetic surgery is your own decision, but getting cosmetic surgery does add to a larger problem, however, that we are all victims of, right? I think that the cosmetic surgery industry, I've talked about this before, as a whole is a predatory industry, and these celebrities are products of their environment. I mean, I've even heard that moving to LA, just in general, even if you aren't an actor or influencer or whatever, there's so many people there who get fillers and Botox and stuff like that. It's so normalized that it almost has you thinking like, damn, I'm bored. Do y'all want to get under the knife? If a Hollywood star is presented with two options, right? Stay true to myself and set a good example for young women and girls everywhere, but I look older and lose out on a lot of jobs and I still get criticized for looking old and ridiculed. Or I get ridiculed, but I look better and I have more job opportunities. I can see them choosing the latter. And this isn't to coddle celebrities or be like, I believe that every Hollywood star should have a free government mandated facelift because the poor babies have to be on camera. But for as much as we ridicule and critique these celebrities who do get work done, celebrities who choose not to get any work done and showcase their aging, visibly on their face and body, they get criticized too. For example, Alexis Bledel, at a carpeted event she attended, there were pictures that were taken and people were commenting on the way that she looks, and they were even comparing her to the actress Lauren Graham, who played her mother on Gilmore Girls. There was a video of Ellen DeGeneres where she was expressing her grief over a young man who had passed away, and he had been on her show several times, and the comments are a reflection of where we're at in terms of aging. So let's just go through some of these. First, we have a sympathetic comment. Aw, beautiful, R.I.P. Tate Anderson, prayers for the family. And this has 50,000 likes, so that's sweet. And then directly under this comment is, damn, when did she get so old? And that comment has 300,000 likes. It's gonna go ahead and have 300,000 likes. This one says, Ellen degenerating. I thought this was somebody, grandpa. Damn, they took your job and your youth. When did she get so old? What? Dory is getting old, y'all. I also saw a tweet showing a picture of Shawn Mendes comparing him now versus when he was a few years younger. And it's captioned, he has the Celine Dion aging curse, OMFG. Rude. Here is another tweet about Audrey Hepburn where a user says, I actually assumed that she died young. That's so sinister, LMAO. And it really is, because it goes to show that a lot of people only care to see her when she was in her youth. I personally think this is the first time I've also seen pictures of her older as well, and she's gorgeous, she's beautiful. And on the other side of condemning celebrities for showing, visible signs of aging, we praise celebrities who age well. Whether it's natural or whether it's because they got really good work done that it's not really noticeable, it doesn't really matter. We value youth so much that the phrase aging well means that you actually haven't aged and you still look youthful, right? Which actually, if you're just solely looking at the words and disregard the societal context that has been bombarded into our heads, just looking at the phrase, that doesn't make sense. At least for me, because, okay, here's the thing. If I were an alien and I came to Earth to learn about its language and customs, right, or one of the many languages, and I heard the English phrase, aged well, I would think in my head, okay, this means that this person has been great at aging and is really showcasing their age, right? Because they've aged well. But it's the opposite. And when you say someone has aged poorly, it means that they obviously have aged and gotten older. But to me, it's like, did they age poorly? Because it seems like they're pretty good at it. Hashtag first date, kinda nervous. Anyways, it's nice to finally meet you in person. Yes. It's so nice to meet you, too. You look even better in person. Oh, thank you, thank you. I'd like to think that I've aged really poorly. What? Don't say that about yourself. Oh, okay, bitch. What? I'm 64. What? Yeah, so I am actually aging poorly. I'm really, really terrible at it. Oh. I see. Huh, I guess that kind of makes sense. Yeah, I guess it's just genetics, or I was very virtuous in a past life, because a lot of my friends, they're aging really well. Yeah, they're popping grays out like daisies, and their wrinkles are getting deeper than the Mariana Trench. Yeah. Mariana Trench. So, you know I'm only 20 years old, right? Besides solely online comments, with TikTok, we have truly seen the power of trends and edits. And I know it sounds silly, but edits are like currency for relevancy. People have even said that TikTok edits are the new movie trailers or, the new marketing tactic. And with that being said, observing who gets edited or what types of edits and trends are circulating online is a reflection of how we feel about aging as well. When The Substance came out in 2024, the message was pretty freaking clear, right? Older people, specifically women, often feel ignored, discarded, and easily replaceable. But a trend on TikTok that emerged from this movie is taking two public figures, an older one and a younger one, and posing it like, oh, this younger actor is like if this older actor took the substance. I don't think people had malicious intent and were primarily looking to demean the older public figure. But the audio to the edit does that for them. The audios used for these edits is from the pitch for the product, the substance in the film, right? And they say, and I quote, "Have you ever dreamt of a better version of yourself? Younger, more beautiful, more perfect." And then we are showcasing these two people side by side where the younger actor or musician is kind of supposed to be the focal point, and I guess you're supposed to leave feeling like, wow, yeah, the younger actor really does look like this older actor who's freaking a bag of bones now and is certainly past their prime. This one isn't even an edit, but it's a series of photos, and the first slide has Sabrina Carpenter, and it says, "Sabrina no está respectando el balance." I think we can gather what that means. And then you go to the second slide, and it has a picture of Madonna hunched over, and it says, "La Sustancia, La Sustancia, Barcelona." I've also seen a lot of photo sets on TikTok where it'll show pictures of this actor and be like, Bryan Cranston now. And then you swipe and then it says Bryan Cranston in his prime. And it's a bunch of pictures from like 25 years ago. And yeah, I guess it's just to show, hey, this really attractive person in their 50s was even more attractive in their 20s. Can we pay attention to that? And I love how the phrasing isn't even, now versus then, or 2025 versus 1990s. It's now versus their prime, meaning that we have acknowledged that they've depreciated since then. I think for many people of a certain age, you get to a point where you accept that you are no longer in your prime, right? However, I guess as someone who is in the public eye and someone who does get insecure, I know that if I were seeing edits of myself where I was portrayed as this sort of, someone who is no longer at their peak or something, it would hurt my feelings. Honey, what is this snag versus hag trend? How do you know about that? I had a call with my publicist this morning, and she seemed thrilled because a lot of the kids are posting about me alongside Amanda Wang on TikTok and everything, but I don't understand the videos. Yeah, basically, they just take two people. Two people, yes, I did get that part. Right. And one of them is usually older. Okay. And the younger one is the snag, meaning that you want to snag them because they're like hot and you want them sexually. So then the other person would be the hag. But look, Mom, there's so many edits of you. People love you when they love the new movie, okay? Edits means relevancy. That means you're relevant. Are any of the comments about me? So most of them are about Amanda. But here's one. Who's the old one? Right. Excuse me. I think I'm going to go find religion or something. What? I don't know. I just need a distraction. And negative rhetoric towards aging is not only reserved for celebrities. Oh, baby, far from it, okay? As someone who is officially, I would say, in their late 20s now, I've been very privy to the way people talk to you as if you're half dead. They're dangling a bucket in front of you and they're saying, "Hey, Missy, don't you want to kick it?" When I turned 27 this year, some people had this like weird tone about it, and I know most of the time they're just like, it's a joke, they're joking, but there's this tone of, oh, you're getting closer to 30. And it's almost the same feeling I get of like if you're in a haunted house and someone is like, oh, don't open that door. And in my head, I'm just sort of like, yeah, I've been getting closer to 30 ever since I was born. Just like I was getting closer to 20, 40, 60, like that's how time works. And honestly, I am excited to turn 30. And that seems so, sometimes, I feel like sometimes when I say that, people have this reaction of almost like, good for you, right? Like, oh my God, girl, you keep lying to yourself. That takes guts. If 30 is old, then I'm excited to be old. You know what I mean? I don't get this mindset that people have. And people have the same mindset about turning 20. And even if entering your 20s did make you old, even if I'm old right now, who cares? Who decided that that's a bad thing, right? I feel like this perception we have towards aging, it's also like a trap we set up ourselves, where I always hear so much negative self-talk from people in their 20s, right? You hear someone who is in their 20s or even 30s call themselves old, it's always with a certain tone. I'm so old. And it's never, I'm so old! Especially when I hear it from young women, it's like, you already have shackles on you and you don't need to tighten them, right? You don't need to add more bars to the jail cell. For example, the phrase pushing 30, right? It's often used as a way to insinuate that someone is too old to be doing something, or almost put someone in their place in a way. And sometimes it is valid. If you're a 29-year-old man and you can't tell apart laundry detergent from, dish soap, yeah, we have to sort of start thinking about that. But sometimes I see it in the context of, a woman wearing a really fun pair of earrings, then a spunky hat or something. And then people are like, okay, you're pushing 30. I'm sorry, I didn't know that whimsy had an age limit. Or I've seen videos of, people in their late 20s or 30s making videos with their friends and just doing something fun or being silly, right? And then the comments will be like, pushing 30, by the way. Right. So apparently there are some things that have an age limit. For example, number one being the girlfriend of a famous actor who is in his mid-40s or 50s. And number two, laughter. Actually, one of my favorite comedians, his name is Joe Castlebaker. Look it up, okay? He's amazing. I saw him at Union Hall. He is in his 30s and his comedy is so, I guess, if it has a youthful spirit, if you want to say it that way, very like, active and fun and expressive. And when I watched him live and listened to his podcast, it's a nice reminder of like, oh yeah, I don't have to become stoic or all serious just because I'm of a certain age, right? Because that's just not me. There's this clip from Rachel Sennett on a podcast that I think showcases pretty well how a lot of people in their teens or early 20s view people who are like less than a decade older than them. Sorry, I thought I was gonna burp.
For so long, you're always like 25, but a 30-year-old, and you're like, that's so crazy that like she's 30, like, and then one day it's like it's you. You're 30 and someone else is 25, and they're looking at you, and you go, I know the way you're looking at me right now. It's how I looked at her.
I think when younger people meet slightly older people, they feel surprised at how much they have in common. They're like, huh? Because as this cookie has crumbled, since a lot of adult things are seemingly out of reach, we are going to be doing a lot of the same activities. We might be having similar senses of humor. Some people aren't gearing up to lead a PTA meeting or pay a full college tuition. Some of us are having a beverage for breakfast so that we can have actual food for lunch. Are you looking for a new financial advisor? Well, now you can gouge your fucking eyes out because there's no reason to look any further. With me, Brooke No Broke, your new guardian angel. Any financial goal you have, I'm your gal. I can help with lots of things. Really? Of course. What do you need? New house? New car? Well, I would love a brand new Apple. Product, like you need a new phone? No, like one Apple. Maybe Gala or Fuji. It's all I can afford right now. Yes, we can definitely tweak your budget so that you can afford a Fuji apple. That's amazing. I really don't have a lot of money, so it can even be a red delicious apple, since those are usually the cheapest because they're bad. Okay, anyone else? Brooke, I'm turning 27 and I need some help saving up so that I can afford more Robux. Oh, you have a little one. My daughter loves Roblox too. Ew, I don't have a kid. It's for myself. What?
I want to be able to afford a new house.
Yes, I can definitely help with that. For my little pumpkin. Since Gen Z is losing community, these pumpkins are my only friends. And this year, I couldn't afford a big one. Holy hell. I will say though, as a late 20-an, I do know when to pull the plug on some things. For example, me saying 6'7", skibbity riz toilet, that doesn't feel natural. It's not rolling off the tongue for me. Something feels wrong about it. It's like watching a monkey on a tricycle, right? It's like, just get off. And who knows, maybe subconsciously all of the jokes and comments and societal perception of someone in their, late 20s and how we treat aging, maybe it bothers me because it's making me feel old. And then by that logic, I would be a hypocrite because whether I'm old or young, I shouldn't be attaching a positive or negative mindset to either of those things. But what I can say is that I've made active changes in my mindset to not further stigmatize aging in a general way in my day-to-day life. And then also more specifically, aging within the brackets of, the 20s phase that I'm in. First of all, there's a tweet that I need to share because it kind of reminds me of that one Instagram story screenshot where it's like, I think you guys are thinking about yourselves too much, right? This tweet reads, "Sorry, but I am only 31 and will not be gaslit by big pedophilia into thinking that is old." Right? Because that's what it really is, isn't it? So don't let yourself fall victim to big Peter Phil Ia. Do you want to be gaslit by Peter? If you're a woman, already, L. If you're a woman over 25, baby, that's like driving the car off the lot, okay? Your value depreciates. You're basically 3 feet under.
Yeah, that's
all right?
right.
And then, once you get over 50, baby, that's the full 6 feet. You're a poet, a genius. What's your name? The name's Peter. Peter.
Oh, that's not.
What?
I don't think we want to listen to you anymore.
Oh.
So something that I've been doing whenever someone mentions that I'm in my late 20s and they treat it like it's some sort of curse or, they have the energy of, when you speak to a child and you're mentally prepping them for the fact that the family dog is about to be put down, there's just like an undertone of despair. I just do not give in to the negative energy at all. And I do not acknowledge the pessimism. I'm just like, yeah, I'm getting closer to 30 and that's like exciting, right? I am at a point in my life where I feel solidified in my goals. I have my boundaries. I have hindsight, right? Everything in my life that I am in control of is basically better than before. And isn't that exciting? And you can sense that the other person is kind of like, yeah. Because they expect you to be like, "Oh, I know, I'm so fucking old. I'm basically worthless. I'm surprised you haven't got stuck inside one of my wrinkles yet. You better run before it's too late." There was a certain point where the rhetoric around aging just annoyed me so much that I just decided I was going to be excited to age. It was a conscious flip of a switch in my head, and it's just how I view the world now. And I don't know, maybe there is a part of myself that is somehow tricking myself or something like that, but it's working. Ever heard of fake it till you make it? And I can literally sense myself feeling more free because of it, right? And of course, there's still some times when I slip. There's some times where I see, younger actors or these like other social media stars or whatever who I feel like I'm comparing myself to and whatnot. And they're so beautiful and they're so successful. And then I have to take a step back and remember that I have my own beauty and my own success, right? And that's not an easy thing to do. It's an active choice that you make, but making that choice repetitively has helped me a lot and helped me in the way that I view aging. And it's reminded me that just because my timeline might be different from this other person's doesn't make it less valuable. It doesn't make anyone's timeline less valuable. You can win an Oscar when you're 60. You can get your big break in your 40s, become a photographer in your 70s, become a designer at 40, a chef when you're 50, or express yourself however you want, no matter what age you are. Aging does bring its challenges, that's true, but some of these challenges are self-imposed, right? And if we're able to change our perspective on how we feel about aging, not only does it help us in the long run, but it creates a net positive for everybody. So to whoever is out there watching, whether you are in your
teens, your 20s, or you're in your 40s and you're watching this as your kids are asleep. I know that aging seems really scary and it seems like you have to achieve every important goal that you have right now. But I am here to tell you that a lot of good things take time, and to have that time is such a blessing. So I hope you all enjoyed today's video. Sometimes, you know, it's hard to practice what you preach. So as much as this video was me stating, you know, my mindset and my practices to you guys, it's also a reminder to myself. Make sure that you drink some water. I hope you can have a good meal today, and until next time. Ew, you're 30? Now, I don't know about you, but I love money. I think that I need it to live. Don't you?